Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at Podcast. Happy birthday, America. 248 years young. And today we are thankful for all of our veterans, and we're going to speak to one today. But first off, we want to thank Fair Trade Workforce, sponsor of our Chicken Wing segment, and EF Routing. Mr. Alex Bates is off today. Of the week are everyone's making money this week with the July 4th holiday. So dry van, we have Akron to Philly going for $12.50 to $18.80, probably a little bit more towards the higher end of that spectrum with the holidays. It's Greenville, South Carolina up to Philly going for, looks like, wow, $4 up to $4 something a mile. Crazy week. Milwaukee, Dayton, Ohio, 1600, 14 to 1600 reefer, and another reefer, great reefer lane, North Carolina to PA. It must be all those potatoes and produce going up the eastern seaboard. Tupelo, Mississippi, up into the Midwest and Bedford, Indiana, going for about $3.50 a mile, flatbed. And another great flatbed lane, a shorty, Blackstone, Virginia, over to Allentown, going for about, $3.50 to $4.50 a mile on average. Best loops for dry van, got Houston to Athens, Georgia, and then reloading from Macon all the way to central Kentucky, and then back to Houston. So it looks like the South is hot. Best loop for reefer, similar story. We got Miami to Charlotte to Georgia to Central City, Kentucky, and back to Florida. So staying on the southern side of our great country. And flatbed, we have Alabama over to Dayton, Ohio, and then shooting over to Grand Rapids, Michigan, then going to Milwaukee. Be careful how you put that into how you count the miles on that. You can't go over Lake Michigan. And then Milwaukee back to Alabama. So you're trying to stay on the southern side to make your most. So we're honored to have Mr. Darren Chamlee here today, a veteran of our great armed forces. Mr. Alex, here we go. Darren, thanks for joining us today on this July 4th special. A pleasure to get to know you, and thank you for your service.
Thanks for paying your taxes and the free education. I appreciate that.
So being a veteran, what is the most important issue this election season for you?
The person that's in control being out of control.
Gotcha.
So, no thanks, Brandon.
What does America mean to you?
I mean, everything, opportunity. It's where I'm from, and anybody would tell you that, but I don't know. It just means a little more to be American. And a lot of people get frustrated with that when you say that, oh, we're too boisterous about it or, over the top. But yeah, of course I'm going to be over the top because I think it's the greatest country in the world. And I live in the greatest city in the world, New York City. So
how would you say that translate when being a proud American, when you speak to a lot of people overseas that are part of our industry, what do you hear from them?
They're looking for the same thing. I feel for a lot of the people I deal with. I work with a lot of people that are in Ukraine or, India or a bunch of different places. But ultimately what they're trying to do is emulate what we have here. So, I just I try and be supportive and go from there.
That's wonderful. What branch of the military were you in?
I was the Navy.
Can you talk a little bit about your time there? And maybe if you can throw in the craziest story that's happened to you in the military that we could talk about here.
Well, yeah, it gets, I don't know how family friendly we're going to be, but no, I enjoyed my time in the Navy. I probably would have had a better career had I been a little more mature and made better choices. But it taught me a lot. Um, it also taught me a lot of what not to do in a professional setting. So it was beneficial there. But I guess I don't know. The craziest story is probably the hole I have in my head right there. I got hit in the head with a lead pipe by a prisoner. Somebody wasn't paying attention, and the prisoner was able to get out of line, grab a pipe that was on the ground, and hit me in the head with it. So,
That's nuts. That's nuts. Um, what are the main lessons or skills that you learned in the military that you are using today in logistics?
work doesn't stop. I mean, it's you're always on call. It's there are no off days, so it's great for being a freight broker. I mean, a lot of you guys understand that. Like, hey, if that phone rings, you have to answer it. So I already had that work ethic because military, you work a lot, so it translates really well to our.
So you don't mind working weekends and holidays, and it's almost natural for you.
It's an addiction. I don't know. My life revolves around work. A lot of people say that's unhealthy, but it's what I like to do. So
when did you realize it was an addiction? At what point in time?
um, I would say when I first started really doing well in brokerage and seeing the results, and
Financially?
Of course, yeah. That's you know, a lot of people say money can't buy happiness, and I'm like, well, if that's the case, be broke and tell me how happy you are on the first when the bills come out.
And they say more money, more problems, and I always say I'd rather have both. So
Yeah, exactly. Money can't buy happiness. It just buys all the shit that improves my mood.
So living in New York, how much do you think a New Yorker needs to make to live, comfortably? And I know
It
it's
depends.
relative, but
It depends on what borough you're in. I don't. There's not a place in New York City I'd want to live making less than probably 150,000 a year. Um, it's just
crazy.
yeah. I mean,
Crazy.
you can live comfortably in the Bronx making 80 grand a year. The tires may not be on your car when you get up in the morning, or you might get stabbed going to the subway. But yeah, it's exponentially different than the rest of the country aside from maybe like California would be the only thing that rivals it.
Yeah, San Francisco area, perhaps.
Right.
What do you think of the fact that 10% of all truck drivers are veterans of this country? Do you think that's high or low?
I think it's low. I wish there was more. And I'll be honest with you, anytime a truck driver tells me they're a veteran, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, cool. It's like, a huge weight's lifted off my shoulder, because most of them they're going to do their job, and, they're good communication there. Like, you don't really have to worry about it.
Would you rather give, like, if you knew the company that you were dealing with or the truck driver that was going to get your load is a veteran, would you want to, almost tip them for their service? Or would you like for companies to have that option?
I mean, I don't know. I might be running in circles here, but from a hiring standpoint or booking a load, or so, if I know somebody is a veteran, I'm probably going to, they're going to take precedent over everybody else. Like, it just is what it is. It's kind of a loyalty thing. But yeah, I'm probably going to pay them more money too. So it's, that's just, I can trust the work ethic. Like, I know what they've done and the discipline, and I guess it's loyalty to a fault sometimes.
So you're a Navy guy. If you were not a Navy guy, what would be your favorite branch of the military? If you were going to go in again, where would you want to land?
The Air Force, because they have way nicer shit than everybody else, and their lodging's better, their food's better. If I had it to do over again, I probably would have been in the Air Force.
Gotcha. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now, what brokerage you're with, your day to day.
It encompasses a lot. So I work for a company called Sea Log Logistics. We're based stateside out of Manhattan, but the headquarters is in Italy. I mean, it's a lot. Like, we're a freight forwarder, we're a freight broker. My boss owns some other companies that do completely different things that I'm not even associated with. And I also sell imported food from Italy for our company, Strategy Food.
Interesting. Interesting. How did you land that job? How did that come about?
I had a mutual friend who was a recruiter, and he was plugged in with my boss, and he was like, "Hey, what do you think about New York City?" And I was like, "I think I want to stay where my rent is a lot cheaper and cost of living is a lot cheaper." And he was like, "Well, I think you'd really like this guy. Just hear him out." My job pissed me off one day, and I was sitting in the garage smoking a cigar, and my current boss called me, and he was like, "Well, we've been going back and forth for a few months. Are we ever going to do anything?" And I was like, "You know what? I'm glad you called." And he was like, "Well, how quick can you be here?" And I was like, "Well, I can be there this evening if you'd like." And they got me a plane ticket, and I was here the next day, and
just like that, huh? So, what is
New York, boo? Yeah, I got something for you.
What is rumor has it you were at TQL for a while before.
That's not a rumor. I was there.
TQL overall doesn't have the best rep in the industry, yet they're a very successful company overall. What are your thoughts?
TQL has great training. I wouldn't know any of what I know about the industry or be nearly as effective in doing sales or even carrier negotiations had I not been at TQL. With that being said, they also have a revolving door. So it's you take the good with the bad, right?
What do you think TQL could do to minimize turnover? Because if they minimize turnover, hypothetically, they just keep on adding, and it could be even bigger than it is now, and in terms of quality as well. It's almost a numbers game.
I'm going to tell you they don't want to minimize turnover. I don't think they care. So what's going to make them bigger? They have to overtake CH. They're already the second biggest brokerage in the world. So I honestly don't think they give a shit, and I'm not one to sit here and pocket watch and tell them, "Hey, you're doing this wrong, this right." Obviously, they're doing better than I am because they're number 2 in the world.
So unlike numerous brokerages that have the Chicago model, the backhaul model, where there's different departments, it's quite departmentalized. TQL is a cradle to grave model. What are your thoughts about the two models? Which one do you prefer? Which one do you think is more effective?
Cradle to grave, 100%. With that, typically you're learning the dispatching side, you're learning operations first. You get down carrier negotiating, and then you move into sales. As a broker, that's the best way to do it. Obviously you want to know as much about your job as you can to be effective.
Do you think the cradle to grave model at some point minimizes the scaling of an operation? Because let's say a really good sales guy is spending time building loads or booking loads or tracking loads when he could be selling.
Well, if you're good enough, you'll have a carrier sales team. I mean, that's just every brokerage is that way. Like there's not a broker that's going to sit there by themselves and book 120 loads a day. So it's just like any other business. I mean, you have to scale to what your business is. So, if you're doing that much volume, they're going to hire you, carrier sales, or even if you're independent, you need to hire somebody to delegate to.
What do you think about the broker / carrier dispatcher, I guess, forever never ending controversy? You have the brokers who are always very frustrated with the dispatchers and the other way around. What is your take on it?
I mean, it's one and the same in a lot of aspects. Communication can mitigate a ton of that, which a lot of times both sides don't really communicate well, especially when issues arise. The component that the dispatcher doesn't have that the broker has is, okay, I've got the dispatcher bitching at me, but things are messed up. So now, on top of the dispatcher being frustrated, I also have to deal with the customer being frustrated. So it's simple, and everybody says this. I mean, but it really is just communication and transparency, and you can mitigate a lot of those problems. We're both essentially acting as a third party, and I think if more people would realize that, it would make this flow a lot easier, and it'd just be smoother.
So many years ago, right, you had brokerages like Convoy and Uber come out and say, hey, we have this technology. And every year, there's this push for more tech in the industry. You saw that with C.H. Robinson recently. Right. But if you look at kind of what happened to Convoy, they went out of business. And then Uber, they're not really all that techy as they claim to be. And at least when they were starting out, they're just a normal brokerage. But yeah, we know technology is evolving every single day. When do you think that shift will happen? Where a lot of the broker stuff, like you said, we're a third party. The dispatchers, to some degree, they're working with the drivers. What if eventually, do you think it is possible, call it in the next 5, 10, or when do you think that technology will lead to the fact that our jobs as brokers and dispatchers will be eliminated due to technology?
Never. If that's the route you want to go, I advise any customer to do that. I'm like, please try it out, give it a chance. When you get tired of it in 3 months, I'll still be here. You still have my phone number. So there's just.
You think relationships will outlive all of this?
Well, I mean, say I dropped the ball on one of your loads right now. Do you want to call and scream at my automated answering system, or would you rather scream at me as a person, as the person who fucked it up? So.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
No. What do you think dispatchers could do better in terms of working with drivers, right? Especially owner operators who are always very popular, but they have a rep of being hard to deal with, especially, booking loads. Do you think if hypothetically you could speak to an owner operator directly, excluding the dispatcher, what would you tell them if there was a hard load to take?
I do that now. I mean, I don't need a dispatcher to book a load because I have an MC number. Just like a dispatcher, if they had a direct customer, doesn't necessarily need me to book a load. But it's I hear a lot of the stuff from the drivers, and the dispatcher won't give them the pickup number, or they gave them the incorrect address. It's accountability. A lot of people, when they're at fault, their first instinct is to make an excuse or blame something else instead of just going, hey, I screwed up. And that's on both sides. That's just not dispatchers. That's brokers too. I mean, I've seen more brokers lie and just, immediately point the finger at something else instead of walk in the bathroom over there and look in the mirror like you fucked up. Just say, hey, I screwed up. You're a human being. Most people understand the human aspect of things. We all make mistakes.
So are you a little bit on the sales side of things?
I'm a lot of bit on the sales side of things.
So what is your magic sauce for closing a customer? How do you differentiate yourself versus all the other guys who are making calls? And there's a ton of other guys making calls every day.
I don't have any magic sauce. I mean, my thing is I don't quit. Um, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm some great salesperson or I'm Grant Cardone or whatever fucking YouTube person people are watching now. It's just I just keep trying until I land what I want, or I realize it's unclosable and I move on and close the next thing.
Which verticals do you usually attack and why from the sales side of things? What do you think?
It depends on the person's personality.
So it's not necessarily you're going after, call it paper manufacturers. You're trying to form a relationship with someone on the other line that on the other end of the line that is similar to you, that you feel comfortable working with long term. Is that it?
I want to find commonality, because if you can make a person think you're friends in business, and this may not be doing me any favors, but I'm going to get the business because they feel like, oh, Darren's my friend. So that's just the truth of it.
And why do they keep on coming back to Darren?
You would have to ask them that. I would like to think it's because I don't bullshit people or blow smoke up their ass. I think the biggest thing is it's not what I do right all the time, because it's what you do when the mistakes happen, and accountability and owning up to it. Yeah, I could sit here and tell you thousands upon thousands of things I've done right in this industry, but I've made a mistake one time and lost a customer. So I might have done 650 things right that year, but we dropped the ball on one expedited shipment and I didn't explain it correctly, or I wasn't accountable enough, and that business is gone. So I think it's really because it's going to happen. You're a third party. You're gonna have something be screwed up.
So in that situation, what do you think you could have done? What did you take away from it?
Be more transparent. I mean, take accountability out of the gate. Take the shot to the chin. And everybody's afraid to be wrong or lose business. Just address it up front.
Where do you think there is the most opportunity in terms of a specific customer segment, in terms of, is it snack, is it beverage, is it lumber? I don't know. Whatever it is, where do you think there's most opportunity in today's market?
Just from a sheer volume transport, it's always going to be dry van freight. I mean, because more of that, or reefer. I mean, I'm sure the numbers are pretty close. I haven't looked at them in a long time. There's just more volume, but I don't necessarily look for that anymore. You're cutting your margins slimmer with dry van or reefer or whatever, because there is so much influx of volume. Now, that being said, I'm not going to turn it down, because if you're willing to write a check, I'm willing to move it. But I've kind of pivoted with the market being the way it is, and I was fortunate enough to bring on some people that know the bulk liquid industry here recently in the last couple of years. And that's been great for me, just because not a lot of brokers do it.
No, absolutely. But it's also something I've dabbled in a long time ago, and it's kind of tough. There's, like you said, there's not a lot of people that do it, and it's super challenging to find the right carriers for it. So, I mean, starting from zero, let's say you get a customer and you kind of bullshit your way in, and they give you a liquid bulk load. It's not easy to cover. It's like you have to have that network. Otherwise, you're going to fall flat on your face. Really.
As somebody that runs a whole department, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know the ins and outs of it, because I don't. I'd be a fucking liar. But I try and hire people that are smarter than me at what we're doing. And
It's a
fortunately,
wonderful niche you guys found. Wonderful niche in the market.
it's great, and I'm very fortunate to work with some people and have being introduced to those people, and I was lucky enough to bring them onto my team.
Do you guys move a lot of hazmat?
Of course, I mean a lot of bulk's going to be hazmat, but I moved a ton of hazmat, dry van, and reefer and all that, just on my own when I was completely by myself. But with something like bulk, it's a completely different game.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. A lot of chemicals, I assume. A lot of fracking, some fracking customers and stuff like that.
Right.
Interesting. Where do you think the market's going to go the next, call it 6 months, a year? Where do you think it is now? What are you seeing, and how different is the liquid bulk market from what we're seeing for dry van and reefer and flatbed?
Well, with bulk, I would say loyalty is the number one thing that stands out to me. A lot of the carriers in that market, they're getting paid well, anyways. So the turnover of I'm going to take this project from this guy and do 30 dry van loads, as opposed to bulk, is a lot less, because these guys are specialized and they make good money, and they make it for good reason, because they have a skill a lot of people don't have. So that's stability is probably the main thing that I would differentiate a specialized market. Not even just bulk. Like I know a lot of you guys look at LinkedIn, and y'all know who John Rogers is. John talks about the margins and stuff he makes, and I don't think he's bullshitting or lying at all, because John plays a specialized game. So he's not just playing dry freight. Any excuse my language, any dickhead can go out here and book a dry van right now for a $200 margin. But he was smart enough to expand his business, which I believe he does, or still incorporates dry van and reefer. But where he makes his money at is he's found a different outlet.
So what are the margins roughly? I don't know if you can talk about it, but let's say a dry van margin, like you said, 150, 100, $200. Reefer, maybe a tad more, somewhere.
18.7% is what I average on bulk.
Okay.
And the rates are normally higher, which we average pretty close to that on dry van and reefer too, which is great in this market.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the market sucks right now. But I'm willing to throw a lot more resources toward bulk, because the returns are better than I would. I'm going to see a 12% dry van margin, and I'm going to go, whatever. I can book one bulk load for what I would have made on 6 dry van loads.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
What's your plan for when the market turns around overall? What is kind of your plan? Are you just going to keep on investing more in bulk, try to become the premier bulk broker, liquid bulk broker, or are you guys going to kind of diversify in other aspects as well?
It's not me. I mean, the people I have running that department, I'm always going to allocate things to them, because they've been great, and I don't see bulk having as bad, which it does, it fluctuates, but the ebbs and flows for bulk are, you can't even compare that and the more regular freight market.
Can you talk about which commodities lead to bulk prices going up and down? What affects the market?
It's the same. It's the same thing. I mean, a lot of times, it's just like any good. Of course, fuel prices affect the market as a whole.
Well, outside of fuel, is it, obviously oil has a lot to do with it, but oil, when we saw the price of oil go down, I remember in like 15 or 16, there was a lot less fracking, and a lot of fracking companies went under, or, their orders diminished.
Right
now, it's relatively high. Well, it's somewhere in the middle, But how are you guys dealing with it?
Hey, Lev, can you give me 1 second? There's a delivery guy here.
Sure thing.
Let me grab him real quick.
Sounds good.
I'm sorry, man.
While you do that, we want to say another thank you to Fair Trade. Founder Vince Gonzalez offering recession-proof salaries for outsourced workers. Very glad to have them as a sponsor. They're doing wonderful things.
Can I how do I stop? Yeah, there we go. Got it. I'll be right back, man. Sorry.
No worries. So there you have it, guys. Interesting what's going on in bulk and liquid bulk and what the market's doing. What I'm hearing from my customers is that the last 2 weeks were pretty good, but then again, it's the July 4th rush. So we'll see what kind of happens in the next 2 weeks and what happens actually after Labor Day, if things kind of chill out, because right now it's, produce is pretty hot and it's pushing prices up. So on another note, do a little free sponsorship for Alpha Staffing and Recruiting. Kind of do three great things. The three legs of the stool are, first, amazing at hiring experienced logistics professionals all over, for freight forwarders, trucking companies, brokerages. We'll find you the right person for a very, very decent price, very fair price. We also do that on the outsource side, work with numerous countries in Eastern Europe, and bring you plug and play talent. So, guys, don't be shy. Give us a call. And also have a wonderful, wonderful partner that does truck driver recruiting. So, guys, it looks like Mr. Darren is gone for a little bit. But once he does come back, we're going to do a little bit of a rapid fire segment with him. But there he is. Oh, there he is. Thank you, Mr. Darren. Welcome back.
Oh, sorry about that. I had a return come in, so now I have a bunch of Italian clothing sitting by the door.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. So,
or my Serbian mail order bride, like somebody else mentioned.
Yeah. How can you describe, what is she? 5'5"?
It was a reefer shipment.
Got it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we're gonna transition really quickly into the drums and flats segment. Can you give us what do you prefer, drums or flats, and where do you like to get your wings?
Drums. My back porch.
Do it yourself, huh?
Yeah.
What about the sauce? Which sauce do you use?
As hot as you can make it. Spicy.
How do you make your sauce?
A lot of butter. Normally a pepper base. It just depends on what I'm filling at that point. If sometimes I'll throw some honey in there or barbecue or whatever, but most of the time I like them to just burn your face off.
Lovely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna, Mr. Darren, transition to the last part of the show. We're gonna play rapid fire. It's gonna be two games on there. First game is called Either Or. You have 5 seconds to, pick one.
All right.
We want to get to know you a little bit better and think this is a wonderful opportunity. So, are you ready?
Fire away.
All right. Inside sales or outside sales?
Outside.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Baked potatoes or mashed potatoes?
Mashed potatoes.
Dat or truck stop?
Dat, 100%.
Calling or texting?
Calling.
Side of fries or side of veggies?
I'm old, so it's easier for me to chew vegetables now.
Comedy or horror?
A mix. Horror comedy.
A horror comedy. Got it.
Right.
Unlimited pizza or unlimited tacos?
Pizza. I'm in fucking New York City, of course.
Are you a night owl or an early bird?
Early.
Van, reefer, or flatbed? Or bulk, I guess, for this one.
Yeah, bulk. 100%.
Blondes or brunettes?
Redheads.
Android or iPhone?
Android.
CH or Coyote?
Fuck both of them. Sea-Log.
Trucking through a snowstorm or navigating rush hour in New York?
Snowstorm.
Paper logs or ELDs?
Paper.
All right, last one. Would you rather deal with a high maintenance customer or a driver who's always late?
High maintenance customer.
Got it. Congratulations. Thank you for completing the first part of two-part game here, rapid fire. And just curious, what is your best hangover recipe?
More Modelo.
Perfect. No, that's what I do. I think you have to. Whatever it is, you have to have a beer in the morning, and then you're good to go. Sometimes two.
Close second for my people in the South, Waffle House.
Waffle House. Beautiful, beautiful place.
The awful waffle. Give me those forks that have eggs plastered all over them.
Awesome. You ready for the second part?
Fair enough.
Sounds good. Segment's called First Thought. First thing that comes to your mind when I mention the word or the phrase. So, best freight influencer.
What was it?
Best freight influencer.
Me, but I'm canceled.
Landstar.
Fuck you.
Addiction.
Work.
Favorite salad dressing.
Some kind of vinaigrette. It doesn't really matter which one.
Favorite athlete.
Allen Iverson.
Practice. What?
That's correct. Practice. Also, I'm the best player on the team.
Yep. Favorite outsource country.
Ukraine.
Why?
Work ethic.
Favorite city.
New York.
Celebrity crush.
Michael B. Jordan when he was the bad guy in Black Panther.
Drink of choice.
Bourbon. Neat.
What kind?
It's a toss up. It'd be between Blanton's, which is more of a go-to,
Burns all the way down.
or Stag Junior, which is barrel proof.
Very nice. What do you think is the worst TMS in the market that you've ever seen?
I'm not gonna say it's the worst. It's the most difficult by far is McLeod.
You don't like McLeod?
I'm not a fan. But I don't want anybody that uses McLeod getting offended. I think it's great if you know how to use it, but I'm more simple, make it easy for me. And there's too many features for me. I just want to slap my load on there and book the truck and put it on there and all that. I don't need all that extra shit.
What's your favorite video game?
I mean, NBA 2K would be the first one that comes to mind, but
On what system?
Dreamcast.
Dreamcast. Oh,
which
that's
is
a
where it
wonderful
started.
one. Yep. They
But
have the
I'm a
best
big Mortal
controllers.
Kombat fan too.
Nice. What do you think is the most important sales metric?
Whichever metric you see the numbers on that nets you the most closes.
Most closes. All right. Biggest regret?
Going to college, I should have just started logistics sooner.
And last one, who is your favorite historical figure and why?
Allen Iverson, pound for pound king. He did more with less than anybody in NBA history.
Awesome. Listen, thanks for joining us today. Just have one, maybe two last questions so we can learn a little bit more about you. What would you say is the weirdest thing about you?
I've become really obsessive over my plants, and
What kind of plants? Is it
I have a multitude of plants, and I always have to have some form of fresh flowers in my house for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's just a requirement now.
interesting? Are you a married man? Or are you
I am
single?
not.
What do you think when you do get married, if you do, but let's say you do, what do you think an ideal freight wedding should look like?
Prenup and 3 computer screens.
Love it. Love it. Listen, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Happy birthday, America. Darren, thank you for your service. Thank you for joining us again. And we want to say a special thank you to our sponsor, Truckerfy, matching trucking jobs. Everyone, happy birthday. Have a great 4th of July, and take care.